Hi everyone, your bearded reviewer again. I've just finished a book called The Millennium Discourses by a guy called Etsko Schuitema. Difficult to pronounce that. Etsko Schuitema, who is a Muslim Sufi in South Africa. He's a South African chap, white South African chap, and his name is Etsko Schuitema. Sometimes he calls himself Sheikh Ibrahim. And he's written this book called Millennium Discourses, which actually he'd written back in something like 2000, at the turn of the millennium. And what it involves is he basically he would organize these kind of weekly or perhaps monthly, I'm not quite sure, lessons or darses. It would basically be like a lecture. So, like I said, he's a Sufi, a Sufi Muslim, and he basically they would engage in a thing called dhikr, which is a kind of recitation, and they contemplate on attributes of God, and then afterwards he would talk about whatever would come up. So I'll just quickly read this, the thing on the back. This book is a selection of discourses often referred to as a dars. Within the Darkawi Sufi orders, a dars is usually delivered by the sheikh or a designated muqaddam or representative after a session of zikr, which means remembrance or invocation, when all concerned are in a deep and quiet state. It is never rehearsed or prepared. It is spontaneous and can be described as the process whereby the sheikh teases out a theme which becomes apparent to him in the few moments of silence that follow the final recitation of the Quran after the dhikr. These discourses should not be viewed as a position taken in a debate. They should be viewed as a totality and mulled over in order to taste the state of both the sheikh and the company of fuqara at the time. A further point of interest regarding this particular series of dars or discourses is that they were all recorded between 2000 and 2001, which was a very significant time for us all, as it was a time when the combative confrontation between Islam and the West had taken on both global and millenarian proportions. Therefore, there is a theme sitting at the root of all of these discourses, which is the struggle with what it means to be appropriate in these highly polarized times. And Etsko Schuitema is a renowned business consultant who's authored numerous books, including Leadership, The Care and Growth Model and Intent, The Core of Being Human. He's a senior partner in Schuitema, a transformation consultancy operating worldwide. Etsko is also a sheikh or teacher in the Shadili Darkawi Sufi tradition and is known as Sheikh Ibrahim. So that's the book I've been reading, and this is one of those kind of books that I don't think you can really, maybe you could read it all in a oneer. I personally like to just pick it up and read a chapter, and the chapters aren't huge, and there's about 30 of these kind of chapters, and I would sort of read it when I was in a calm, relaxed mood. And usually during the week, it wasn't always possible to do that because I'm working. But like, the weekend, I would pick it up, and first thing in the morning while I'm lying in bed, I'd read a chapter. And you know what? It was fantastic. I really got, I would get stuff out of this. And like I said, it is from the Sufi. When I say the Sufi Islamic tradition, I think really what it comes down to is this is the tradition of being human. And it's the idea of, what, as a human being, what do we feel? And I think this comes to the heart of that in a way that other books don't. So, I mean, what can I say about it? A few things that I got out of this. It's very easy to get into religion and be in a very kind of, ghettoized kind of mindset. And this is what I do, and we do this on this day and everything. and it becomes very ritualized. This isn't like that. This is looking at huge, real broad principles, and that's what I liked about it. And I think really it's about, first of all, do you believe that there is a creator? Do you believe that there's a God? And it's coming to that point that you either believe, don't believe, or you're not kind of sure. And even those terms, I didn't really fully understand what they meant. Like, atheist is different from an agnostic. An atheist is someone who denies that there's God at all. An agnostic isn't sure. And, a lot of these phrases that I didn't understand what they meant, like often you hear Muslims talking about kafir. What that means is not a disbeliever. It's somebody who covers something up. So if you believe that there's God and you believe that there's a deity and you deny that, then you're covering up what is a truth. So that, I know these are difficult things to talk about. These are issues that people, it's a very famous thing in Britain that, you don't talk about politics or religion, which is funny because that's not the same in the rest of the world. And Herminia, who did the thing about the English and the British, would probably have read that in this. But, people in the rest of the world do talk about politics and religion and don't mind having an argument about it. But there's a lot in this book that I found was about being, so in fact, I've opened it up and it talks about being present in the moment. And essentially, a lot of this is about being present in the moment, moving forward, not living in the past, thinking about our internal dialogue, remembering that if you are a theist and you believe in God, then ultimately you have to accept that you're not in charge, that somebody else is in charge. Now, some people, it occurs to me that, some of the people listening to this are going to really have a problem with that, because they're going to say, well, that means you just give up. And I didn't mean that at all. But ultimately, I suppose when you think about it, we're not in charge of a lot of things in our lives. We're not in charge of how our heart beats, how our bowels contract, about all sorts of things that happen around us. We're not in charge. But we might think that we are, and we have this idea of that I'm a separate entity from the rest of the world. I think that was the other thing that came across really strongly in this book, the idea that you're not separate from everything else in the world. Things are interconnected. Again, that's something that I think, it is very easy to understand when, say, there's a bereavement, because you realize that you were heavily connected to other people and things change. It's like the gumball machine, one comes out and then everything else has to change. But I think to understand that we're all connected while we're living in the world and while people are around isn't always so easy to understand. So that's something that very much came across in this book. What can I say? I really enjoyed reading this book. It made me think about other things like the breath and just getting present to that. That was really, really important for me. And I know some people read Wim Hof and are involved with that. Well, this whole idea of the breathing and using breath work has been around for a long, long time. But anyway, Millenium Discourses by Etsko Schuitema. I really enjoyed this. And the author, by the way, I heard this author and he'd actually, on YouTube and whatever, and he'd actually said that he did write it 20 years ago. So there were some things that he changed his mind about. But overall, I think this is a really good book to get. I read it in little chunks, like I said, and I found it like a very reassuring, soothing book. The idea that there is a deity out there that is that has your best interests at heart and that who's in charge is a very reassuring idea. Some people would go, oh, well, it's reassuring. It's just an opium. and maybe it's the opium of the masses, and it's just making you feel good. But I feel that, personally, I think that there is something more. I feel that there is something else out there. I feel that there is an uncreated, uncaused source to everything. Yeah, I think that this reflects that in quite a lot. So the Millennium Discourses by Etsko Schuitema. If you're interested in getting something that is a calm, soothing balm in some of these difficult times, this is quite a good book to read, I think. Okay, hope you enjoyed that, and see you all soon. Bye.